Fabio, do me a favor. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about the Saber. We're looking forward to hear that. And tell me who you are and why do we care?
We're on, are we? We're on. This is it.
This is it. This is the
Great to be
time.
on,
What you
Sean.
got?
Thank you very much for having me on. And yeah, I'm Fabio Molly. I run, own, operate, take care of most things at Functional Tennis, which is obviously it started as an Instagram account. We have an e-commerce store. We sell some products such as the Saber, which is what we're most known for at the moment. Over the years, it's transitioned from product to product, but past 2 years we've been working on that and trying to get more people using Sabers around the world. We have a podcast with about 230 episodes. We've been going since 2019. And sometimes we get paid to show up at events, to cover events and showcase them on Functional Tennis. We're about to hit 1 million followers, I'd say, by September time. So that's really exciting. I don't normally celebrate the milestones as we've gone through them, but I think this is a big one. So I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen then, but I'm going to try celebrate even locally with a few friends and family here. And that's basically it. Played a bit of tennis as a young kid. Wasn't great. It was probably would have been like 10th in the age group. And I'm probably being generous to myself there. And played up, and then 17, 18, thought about going to scholarship in the States, but wasn't going to get a great school like some of my friends got. So I decided to stay in Ireland. I studied software engineering. So by trade, I'm a software engineer, and I played a bit of tennis in college. And then after college, decided to work for my family business in catering. So spent a lot of time there. I would have known it growing up, would have spent my summers there and weekends working there. So I started running a store, and then sort of was tough. Family business are really tough, I thought anyway, and set up an e-commerce company selling Christmas jumpers in 2008 now. So you guys call them ugly Christmas sweaters. We just call them Christmas jumpers over here, and we were shipping all over the world. So that was pretty good. That gave me good insight into e-commerce, and never actually got into the coding, the software game. Had a few startups, but never did great. But the funky Christmas sweaters, as they were called, or funky Christmas jumpers, did well. And I so slowly sneaked out of the family business. And then until sort of that went backwards, then it was a fad, but it lasted long enough to suck me in and long enough to make a mess of everything. So anyway, Functional Tennis started in 2016, just as me in my 30s, had injuries, and I thought people were putting out some good videos out there, and there was nowhere to save them on Instagram back then. So I thought maybe there's other people who are interested, who are bodies breaking down, and there's people around the world putting out good exercises. And I just started sharing them, and that evolved in tennis content, and we grew organically ever since then. And I've probably went full time about, I'd say 5 years ago, I went full time to Functional Tennis. So it's been a slow burner. It's usual. Everybody thinks like it's overnight success. And not that it's successful at the moment, there's still a long way to go. But in some people's eyes, we're successful, but it's taken a long time to get here. And that leads us on to today.
And we're on today. Bobby, he says, I'm almost at 1 million followers, and it's not that successful yet. I mean, I think a lot of people would say that's a pretty good milestone.
Pretty good.
Pointing out success. So congratulations on that's upcoming. That's exciting for you. And we're curious. So you're not a tennis coach by trade. You're a caterer by trade.
Yeah, caterer and software engineer and
software engineer,
e-commerce person. That's what I'm by trade. Yeah, obviously I played tennis, surrounded by the best players in the country for years. Then my late 20s, where we grew up, there was always one of our universities is there, and they moved the National Training Center there. So there's an indoor center there. So I started going in as practice partner with the top guys and girls. So I spent a few years going in there every day. I was flexible with my time. When you work for yourself or your family, you have a bit of flexibility in there. So I used to go in most days, hit there, and I really improved a lot. And then I went off and I played a few futures, but never made main draw. Won a few qualies matches, and then there was injuries were creeping up and whatnot. So so that, and then obviously my friends played Davis Cup for Ireland, so I was always sort of around tennis, and some other friends were coaches in the National Training Center. So I've always had a keen interest from playing and from speaking to my friends about what's going on.
Gotcha. So you're focused on, in the podcast, I see pro tennis players, coaches, parents, trainers, physios. You talk industry, but is it also you have advice? Are there tips? Is there coaching for the listener? What's the podcast do real quick?
No, we don't coach the listeners. We're more trying to gain from experience from players and people on their team, so closely associated with them. There has been more the past year transition from more of a parent role. We thought there's a lot of parents out there and they want to know how other parents do it around the world. So I've tried to get more parents on and see, how they have evolved, what they've learned in their journey with their juniors, with their kids. And so I've tried doing that. So it's a mixture of that and the people associated with players. Top players are hard to get on, really hard. So we'll take who we can, as in if we can get a top player, great. If not, we try and work around their team. And like I've had all the top trainers on of top 10 guys and girls, which is amazing. And they may give a little bit of experience or an insight into what goes on. And then we're just learning. I don't give out. It's rare. I've probably done 3 or 4 solo episodes in the 230 episodes. But in general, we want to hear about people's stories, how they got to where they were, what they've learned along the way, and what advice. They're the ones giving advice to our listeners who may be parents, coaches, players, juniors.
Got it. That makes sense. But you're most known, and I'm sure Bobby wants to ask because he's got a bunch of kids that want to try this thing, but you're most known for the Saber. And it started as a stick. It was basically like a cooking spoon, right? So tell me how the Saber came to be.
Well, at the minute, we're most known for Sabers. Until 2 years ago, it didn't exist. So we're still known for our Instagram account featuring juniors, featuring behind, player practice content you wouldn't normally find. We've established good relationships with players and their team to get content. So that's what we would have been. And we're still heavily, we work with all the top juniors now, publishing their videos from practice, and we're still known for that. And I think people want to be on functional tennis. It's a rite of passage, I think, at this stage. But going back, yeah, so ultimately this had to be turned into a business to be sustainable. And early on, back in 2010, I actually had a tennis app called My Tennis Tracker, which was for tennis players the iPhone was new enough, but it was an iPhone app where tennis players could document their matches, put in reports and the goal was connected to their coaches. And then my goal was playing futures. I was going to travel and promote this as I traveled. That didn't work out. It turns out we had a code in the States. I had no backup of it. There was a thunderstorm. It blew up his machine. I had no backup, and I just decided to move on. So that's where my head is at when I'm thinking of a product. How am I going to fund functional tennis? And I thought, well, why don't we just start with a journal? It's a lot cheaper to get off the ground, gets people off their phones. And so we launched with a match journal, and then a year later we launched a practice journal. Then we launched a camera mount. In the meanwhile, we used to post a video of a guy called Jonas Fortek. He was at the time 12. He went on to be the world #1 junior, but it was him hitting with a wooden spoon. And I posted a few times, always did really well. And I was like, I never connected. It took me probably a year to connect the dots. I was like, why don't I try get that product and see what it's like, see how useful it is. So I managed to find the guy who invented it. So it was invented in the Czech Republic, and I managed to get one, try it. And I was like, this is really good. So there was actually a European agent, so a worldwide agent who looked after all the sales for the guy who developed it. And I went through them. I ordered a batch and we sold out before they arrived. So that went for about 3 years. It's still going now, but it was copied and it was on Alibaba. People in Eastern Europe were copying it. And yeah, that sort of killed the product for me in the end. They were selling it for half the price we were selling it for, but ours was made from expensive European red oak. It was curated. You could leave them out in the rain for weeks. They wouldn't crack. So it was really high quality. But anyway, so I could I knew this wasn't going to last. And I always dreamt of how to put a product together, one with strings. And so I started thinking of how would I do that? So I was researching manufacturers, and I was always missing the technical element. So it probably took me a year to find somebody from a technical angle to work with. And once I did, for me, it was relief. That was the hardest thing. But I spent 2 weeks in Excel doing some working on Excel and doing some prototypes with cardboard. So, and I built the product in cardboard with the help of a technical guy. And then we had a manufacturer, one of the best manufacturers in the world, and we took it from there. So probably a year. It took 16 months from the time I started working for him until we started selling it.
Gotcha.
And that was for those who don't know what a Saber is, it's a sweet spot training tool.
We skipped right over that, right?
Yeah, we skipped right over it, but it's a 37 square inch racket. It's 2 inches shorter than a normal tennis racket, and it has a smaller head size to replicate the sweet spot on most 27-inch rackets, and encourages people to obviously show them where the sweet spot is, where their contact point is, sorry. And basically, a lot of people described it as a tool to get players' feet moving, because your feet aren't working, nothing else going to work. And when the head size is small, the ball's coming in quick. You just got to be, you got to be quick with your feet. You got to be in position early, and that will allow you to hit the ball in the right place. So ultimately, it's a warm-up tool, but it's really a footwork tool.
Interesting. You think of you grab a racket and say, hey, we're going to focus on hitting in the sweet spot. And then maybe you learn after the fact that it ends up being, I've got a footwork tool. You say, well, wait a minute, this is supposed to be a sweet spot where you help me with my contact point. What does this have to do with footwork? And it's cool that you realize that eventually, because that probably wouldn't be a thing you would have predicted.
No, we should have known from the wooden spoon. We did always knew it was a footwork. It was always involved around footwork. If you're not moving your feet, you're not going to be able to do this. And the spoon was even harder to do it. But yeah, we just heard it more messaging. We've a lot more Saber users than the wooden spoon users. So, you get more feedback. And I think we've about like 850 reviews at this stage, which are really positive. And yeah, so it's a bit for every coach. As I said, we don't tell coaches. We've no instructional manual on our website, because we know coaches are opinionated. They have their own way of doing things. They don't like when another coach, they might learn from other coach, but sometimes it's their way of doing things, and the other coach doesn't do it right. So I didn't want to be the guy telling people how to use the Saber, because I don't think that would have helped me. So we let everybody use it differently, and that's where we get feedback on how people are using it and what way they put it into their practice sessions. And yeah, so it's been really interesting to hear all that.
Yeah, Bobby, we have no idea what he's talking about with coaches going their own way and not listening to other coaches, right? Never heard of such a thing. So, Bobby, you're gonna love this thing, and I'm sure you've got questions. But I'm looking through. It's 37 square inches, which it makes me think of the T2000 that I have. Every once in a while, I go out and try to hit with it, and that isn't 37. It feels like it's 37 square inches when I try to play with it. But Bobby, is this everything you've considered when we talked about this before, to be able to say, okay, this is a tool that can help in many different ways?
Well, I'm old enough to remember when we actually played with 37. I still think I have mine in the garage, still under the pressure to keep them from warping. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing to watch. And I've been laughing a bunch of times during this. First of all, footwork in Atlanta, they just don't go together. That's the pros make it where we have the best drill players in the world. We just don't have players that translate into matches as much, because they're used to the ball coming to them. And obviously, if the sweet spot is smaller and the racket shorter, they're going to have to compensate somehow. A good place to start is the feet. So that's a great and a fun way to introduce footwork too.
Yeah.
This way you're not having to say you're doing footwork, which the kids especially associate that as what we do wrong. You're punishing us. Why are we doing footwork? No, we want to make you better.
Sorry, I'm just jumping in.
Go ahead.
It is like, it's a fun tool, so it adds fun to the session, and you're indirectly working on somebody's game by just them having fun. So it just backs up what you're saying there.
Now, the big problem I saw with it is you have Stan Wawrinka as a demo, and the freaking guy doesn't miss at all. I mean, he just hit clean backhand after backhand. I was like, well, if you really want somebody to feel inefficient or lacking, just watch this video. It was amazing, Sean. I mean, he hits it 37 square inches, clean as you can, and just crushing, not easing his way through the backhand, just crushing the backhand. It was like, okay, I can't do that.
We've another video of a US guy, Brandon Holt, and he's playing a point with it, and he's absolutely nailing the ball, and he's side to side. So it's not, he's going from backhand corner, forehand corner, and back. So there's a lot of movement going on, and he is just absolutely nailing it. Even Sunwoo Kwon, the South Korean player, and a few videos of him absolutely look, these are the best guys in the world for a reason. They're good ball strikers. They can strike a ball well with a baseball bat if they have to.
Yeah.
They have everything, and the racket doesn't matter what racket's in their hand.
But yeah, that was impressive. And I'm still trying to get over. I'm a big Graham Norton fan. And one of my favorite episodes of his show was Bill Murray, Matt Damon, and another actor talking about a fuzzy jumper. So you nailed me. And I was going back right away to that when you started talking about the jumper. So I've been a little distracted, but no. And Graham Norton's Irish, right? I think he's an Irish.
Graham Norton, yeah, he's Irish. Yeah, he wore one of our jumpers at some stage. I have pictures of him here somewhere wearing one of our jumpers.
Oh, they did an episode and they were talking about, and Bill Murray, especially, they had never heard of a jumper, let alone a fuzzy jumper. Yeah. And it was just hysterical. And it's famous for going viral because Matt Damon at the end of it said this is the most fun he'd ever had on a talk show. So it was, it blew up all over the internet. But
I think they were on Jimmy Kimmel's Saturday Night Live at one stage as well. One Direction, like we did. They were like the Kardashians had one. They did pretty. They got it. We gave away a lot of them, put it that way, and which something I haven't done with the Saber, because you get known for giving away product, and
yes,
for me with functional tennis, it was important that we have a price, and that's the price, and it's more or less the price for everybody. And we do give the order of Roger Federer's agent come knocking one for him. We cut him a deal, but we give away very few of these, and that's helped us as well, because it just makes my decision. Everybody gets the same answer.
Yeah.
But it's not the Roger Federer can't afford it, like he needs a free one. I mean,
that's it.
He doesn't ordered it. And
he doesn't. As far as I know, he doesn't have one. But I just simply may gift him one. I don't know, but yeah. Look, the top guys get a lot of stuff for free.
I can only imagine. And you've got I say a swing stick, but we've got something similar that Swing Vision has created to hang the camera on the fence. How did that come to be? That just kind of seems unrelated, but I guess you do a lot of videos, so it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it made sense. We actually, when they first came out, we were buying them actually from a small guy in the States. That's where, and then we developed our own version, and it was just made sense because, we are all video. It actually probably is the most sense product that we have, because what we do is share a video. We've shared over 11,000 videos at this stage. And, if we can allow you to easier record yourself playing tennis, then it's easier for you to send me a video. So it's actually a good product. And yeah, that's it. It's an important product. It's not our biggest seller. I always thought we probably would have done a lot better with them. But look, they take away. And then I saw we were sort of in partnership with Swing Vision. They were selling our product at one stage, but then now more recently they have their own swing stick, which is sort of the same but different.
Yeah, they like to put their logo on things. It's important, I guess. But yeah, so in that case, is that all it takes? I grab your tennis camera mount, I video myself playing tennis, and then you put it on your Instagram account. Is it that simple?
No, it's not that simple. We get a lot more videos in than we put out. Like we put out 4 a day, three to 5 a day, on average 4. And it's quite hard. My job is to curate. If you ask me what's your job within the social account, it's a curator. So I pick what videos goes live. We've relationships with so many players and coaches. They all have their own Dropbox folder they upload to whenever they want. So
nice.
Videos come in all the time. And and then I might, if we don't have a certain player, I'll reach out to them, ask them to create some video. And then other times I might see a video online, which I ask the person for, as we get in high quality. So it's a mixture of some of our own content, some content that just flows into us with relationships we've built, some new stuff I find. And then sometimes we may post some ATP tour videos, which we can do. And if we work with some brands, we may have some brand work also to throw out there.
Okay. So Bobby, it sounds like he's doing a lot of fun stuff. He gets to actually go to the events and video people using products. We do a lot of, we're getting into, I was gonna say, we do a lot of, in our minds, we're getting into in-person events here, and having that mount is fantastic to be able to video yourself, just to have something that convenient. I bought 8 or 10 throughout the first few years of different types of things, and the sticks really make a difference. We really appreciate that. But Bobby, what else? I know we've talked about his podcast, we've talked about the Saber, we've talked about the fence mounts. You've got the training journal. Tell me about that also.
The training journal, it's a match and practice journal. So one for matches, one for practice, and it just gives players a framework on what to think about during the matches. So what to think about before you play and what to evaluate afterwards, and the same for the practice session. So it allows them to plan better, make sure they're achieving their mini goals that they set, and also to rate themselves. And the coach then can have a look at it and see if what they wrote down made sense to what he saw on court. And that's basically it. It's just getting people away from their phone for 3 or 4 minutes. Think about your game, your practice session, plan it out. Did you execute, yes or no? What can you do better next time?
So you have to physically write in the notebook. So you mark it to middle-aged people.
People would still have pencils.
Right, because the younger kids don't know how to write. They just know how to do things with their thumbs.
So maybe it's a writing tool. It's not a journal. It's a tool to help them write.
Because they don't even teach penmanship anymore in the United States.
Their cursive.
They don't write with cursive anymore. So
no, it's definitely, I do get told all the time, why don't you have an app version of this, an app version of this? But there's only so many things I can do, and I'd like to do it at some stage, but it's not my plan the next 6 months to do.
Well, and how much is the Saber? Bobby and I will both agree. Sorry, Bobby. I said Bobby and I will both agree. Getting them off the phone, it matters. I think it helps. That's a great target to have. So put off the app as long as you can. Make them use a pencil. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Because go get water translates into go check your phone.
Look, it's the same for adults as well, not only kids. Like, we can't just blame the kids. I'm probably the most guilty. Every time you stop, it's like, oh, check my phone. You go to the next thing. I recognize it as a problem for myself, and it's not only children that are doing this. Adults are just as bad.
Well, Bobby, you got anything else for Fabio before I hit him?
What is the retail on the Saber?
The Saber
is somebody selling it in the States?
No, well, we've a few retailers spread around the world, not too many, but most sales, like I think 45% of our sales go to the US, 5% to Canada. And it retails, it's like 150 euros, which is about $160, depend. The FX changes all the time. So roughly $160, and shipping is, you can get the 8 to 12 day, which is like $10. You can get the $18 2-day shipping. So we've options there. And then the great thing about the States is you can import up to $800 a day without any duty from Europe. So there's no extra what you pay. There's no extra charges. Some people may be scared getting in from Europe. It's going to be extra charges, but there's not, which works really good for us. Different if I get stuff from the States, we're charged like 25% on top of what it costs. So it's great that I can ship to the States, and our customers don't pay any extra, which is amazing. No sales tax, no any of that. It's just all in the price, and that's it.
All right, so I see 165 currently, and then you got a combo with the Saber and the Magic Mount, which at 215, that's good. You sell some string to go with it. I can get the wooden spoon for just less than 90, and the practice journal. That's great. But then I think, like you said, I said you're most known for the Saber. I think that's just in my mind because I found you years ago because of that. But looking into your Instagram and your podcast, it looks like that's a lot that's been going on longer, and definitely well known there, which is impressive. So I will say well done, because we're talking to as many people as we can in the industry to find out what you're doing, but also sometimes, what that success, what it takes. Now, you said it's a slow crawl sometimes. I think that was the phrase you used, trying to get where you need to be.
Well, we've posted every day since 2016.
That's fantastic.
So that's, what's that? It's 8 years now. So it's like 2,700 days in a row. That's what I've done. It's a mental drain, by the way, but hopefully one day I'll have somebody helping me. You're always weighing up the cost of these things and time, but yeah, it's me that does all that, and it's been a drain. Tough when you're on holidays with the family, but look, I enjoy doing it, and it's yeah, it's great. Sometimes, you can you see a player breaking through, and you're like, well, we posted a video, we had communication with them 7 years ago, and so you can track back some videos, and so I think we're building relationships with players that will be really good in the future.
That sounds good. Bobby, we good to go? What's on your mind? You always have something left.
Yeah, one left. Just curiosity, who's purchasing the Saber? Is it more coaches, more individuals, resort? I mean, I love this as a resort thing, an academy, obviously, but I was curious, how motivated do you get the individual?
It's really a mixture. Like I got an email from somebody there saying they're recommended by Ernie at La Quinta in California. So that's a resort with them.
Right.
So that's who's just bought. I know like parents have bought today. I know coaches buy. So parents will buy for their kids, the younger kids. Coaches will buy to have them in academies, and sometimes in the same academy, the player will buy. So it's really a mixture, which makes it really hard to pinpoint and say, what, coaches buy it and that's it. But no, it's really, it's a mixture. It's parents, coaches. They may, like, I just saw a fancy European resort has got one now, but wouldn't be performance. It would just be like people on holiday. So the coach has one there. It's really sometimes like a federation may buy a few, like they may buy a few, or it's really a mixture. Anybody that is involved in competing tennis players will want to buy one. So competing tennis players, maybe in federations, academies, private coaches, and so anybody. And we've done like I think 90 countries at this stage. So we ship. US is obviously our biggest one. Then the UK, Germany, France, Canada, Italy, Australia, and then spread out throughout the world.
Sounds like it's going well. And then what's next? What's better? We'll have to follow up at some point. We'll find you in a year and see.
I don't know what's next. Yeah, it's just survive and keep pumping out the content. And look, we release limited edition versions of the Saber. We do like a Grand Slam editions where from each city. This year we did a midnight one. People go mad for black rackets. And we also, for celebrating 1 million followers this year, we're going to be launching a special Saber edition. So we do these special editions along the way. And we do have, like, along with the mid, after we launched the mid, then I launched a lighter version. So more for kids, 13, 14, 15. And then we also have a junior version, which is even shorter again for kids 6 to 10.
Yeah, I'm online right now ordering one. I need one for my 2-year-old.
Oh, well, two now. I can't guarantee we've one for 2-year-olds, but come back in a few years and we'll have one. But yeah, so look, we're working on another exciting project in a minute, but it's taken a lot longer than I thought. So I don't know if it's even going to come to fruition. So hopefully next year I could have some good news with that, which will allow me to expand a bit more.
Okay. New products, something fancy. That's a F37 or something. Should be like the 37,000 or something exciting.
No, FT37 was the code name for the Saber.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the new thing coming out.
That was development name for the Saber.
Right.
So, and I was going to go with it, and then came up with the Saber. I just thought the Saber is such a better name, and I think the name can help a product as well.
Absolutely.
And it did help it. So yeah, I'm glad I went with it, and we've managed to train the market.
Well done on the choice. Yeah, I like that a lot. So, okay. I keep asking Bobby if he's got one more. He always does.
I'm good.
We're good. I'm good. All right. So I'm going to hit you unexpected this time with our King of Tennis question. So, Fabio, if you were King of Tennis, whether it's the whole world, whether it's just Ireland, the UK, the United States, anything, social, ATP, WTA, do you have any ideas? Is there anything that you would do or change when it comes to tennis?
I'd love to relocate Ireland to the Mediterranean or somewhere in Europe, so we could start developing tennis players, not have excuses for weather, indoor courts, bad surfaces. So maybe relocate Ireland to Europe would be amazing. But no, realistically, look, I think tennis is about having more fun, but also these guys and girls who are out there like spending. I've seen the top junior guys where nothing's guaranteed and they put so much into it, so much money into it. And I think 5 or 6, I know men, 5 or 6 players enter top 100 every year. There's only 5 or 6 new people making money every year in tennis. So I definitely think more, change up the whole structure of the ATP and WTA, which allows, be it league based. I'm not too sure exactly, but to allow people to 300 to earn more money, to make like even an average wage, but something a bit more than that. It's very, tennis is top heavy, the heavier top, as we all know. I don't need to be saying it, but something that would allow the players, up and coming players who will eventually break through, I hope, but they all don't. Some get injured, but at least to finish their tennis journey with something a bit more to show for it, rather than just some good stories stuck in hotels and train stations and all that. So I just think to divide the wealth a bit more would be nicer.
Bobby, I think we've heard similar things recently where
As
people are looking for something a
consistency.
little different,
Yeah.
little
I'm sorry.
something for that 100 to 300 range, somebody to
Yeah.
keep that, something to keep them going, to keep them in the game.
Yeah, look, it takes a lot. Even if you're a junior, it could take 70, 80, $100,000 a year to fund when you're 14, 15, 16. And it's even more than when you're, 7, you're trying to break through if you don't go to college. And yeah, just something to reward these a bit more. There's a lot of ones that aren't so serious. So you're trying to figure out which are serious. But maybe if there was some cash there for them, they are a bit more serious and allow them to do better. It's definitely hard. And these coming out with the win the futures coming out with a paycheck for $1,500, $2,000, and the weeks after costing you that, they're coming out with like $20 or $30 is the net gain. And the challengers isn't much. Challengers a little bit better, but they're not winning every week. And yeah, I sound like a broken record player here, but I think that's one of the more important things to change, and a lot more should be done about it.
Bobby, can I tell him to come with us a solution next year? We'll come. Hey, look, I like the idea. That's great, but don't come to me with problems. Come to me with a solution.
Yeah.
Well, they're good. Like we said, this is a common theme right now, and I think it's great to continue to people hear it, because most people hear professional and they associate money. And probably if you had to look at all of sports, tennis has the least amount of people making money. I mean, look at what the average NBA player, the average Major League Baseball player makes. Like you said, you got 20, 50, maybe 100 tennis players, male and female, making a good living. Out of how many? It's not a lot.
I'd say in total, you might get like 45, 50 doubles guys, girls, that's 100. And then 80, 90, like 300 players max making money. Like you're better off being a coach.
Yeah.
or the coach, be it traveling, or be it because the coach is still getting paid, or have your own academy, or just run a little nice private clinic in the States somewhere that can do quite well. So look, it's tough. It's tough. And yeah, my solution, I don't have one right now. Maybe I can come back with one, but definitely involves the ATP and the WTA getting together and trying to sort this out.
Figure something out. All right. So next year, that's what we do. I'm going to email you, say, hey, what's the solution? Because, and I push back a lot on these King of Tennis answers to say, hey, you come and say, hey, we need to fix something, but you're the king. So it's on you. You got to figure out how to fix it. And maybe sometimes we come up with good ideas. Sometimes we don't.
I'm not at the level yet. Obviously, if we were a very big, successful company, I would like to have like the Functional Tennis Fund, where we help junior, we pick juniors every year and we distribute some cash to help cover some of their costs. That's what I would like to do to help these players around the world. I'm not sure. I think there's always a difficult situation. Who do you pick? How do you pick? And I think that's hard, but deep down, that's what I'd love to do, would be find a way that have a fund where we can support players and, help them get closer to their dreams.